Well, hello there. I am going to be talking about the chemical spill in West Virginia and about other hazards to living in this country and in the world, but mainly this country because they don't give a shit about us. And they don't do anything to keep this from happening when it could be kept from happening. Anyway, I've got four different clips on it. One is from David Pakman. Chemical spill leaves West Virginia water untouchable, which just happens to be almost the title of the show. Sam Seder, Freedom Industries poisons West Virginia. The Young Turks, what the media covered instead of West Virginia chemical spill. And Thom Hartmann, West Virginia example of the Libertarian paradise. And then I'm going to do some talking. Now, if your kid, you and your parents should decide, maybe you shouldn't listen, because when I get mad, the street language comes out, because I spent a lot of time in the hood and in the streets. And so the language gets pretty bad at times. So let's get started with the clips, and then after the four clips, I'll be back.
Anthony sent me this story via Raw Story. There's an outrageous chemical spill that has tainted Virginia water in a way that is absolutely disgusting. Residents of 9 West Virginia counties have been warned not only not to drink the water, ladies and gentlemen, but not to even touch tap water after a chemical spill. Governor Earl Ray Tomblin declared a state of emergency Thursday in Boone, Cabell, Clay, Jackson, Kanawha, Lincoln, Logan, Putnam, and Roane counties after the West Virginia American Water Company announced the entire water supply has become contaminated. WSAZ-TV reports that 4-methylcyclohexane methanol, which is used in the froth flotation process of coal washing and preparation, spilled upstream from the intake of the Kanawha Valley water treatment plant in Charleston, which is the largest water treatment plant in West Virginia. Now, a water company spokeswoman said that the spill originated with Freedom Industries, which is a Charleston company that produces chemicals for mining, steel, and cement industries. The advisory affects about 300,000 people. The tap water ban has shut down schools, bars, restaurants. People are basically dependent on bottled water. Even boiling the water, Lewis, does not make it safe to even touch. This is just unbelievable. This is head and shoulders above the measures that Americans take when traveling to Mexico with water, for example. I was recently in Mexico. I still showered with the water. I still rinsed my toothbrush with the water, although, yes, I rinsed my mouth with bottled water. This is West Virginia, Lewis, and I have to tell you, there is an absolute double standard with the media coverage. Can you imagine if something that happened with, I don't know, Obamacare made it so that 300,000 people couldn't even touch their tap water? It would be 24/7 coverage on all the right-wing media networks. However, we've got a serious water spill related to the mining of fossil fuels, and yeah, there's a couple of articles, there's, a 30-second note maybe here and there, but it's just not a big story.
This is probably the most important story we've covered in a month. Not to diminish anything else, but it's state of emergency over there. I mean, water has to be flown in. Every bottle of water that was in supermarkets and stores was immediately bought. And it's literally a state of emergency.
Remember, though, Lewis, we need less regulation with food, too, because companies are responsible, and they would, of course, make sure everybody is absolutely safe no matter what, because it's the, I don't know, public interest or something.
It's incredible. You know, when you look at where these chemicals were being contained,
Right.
It's literally on the water. Literally, it's right there, and even a little puncture could lead to a disaster. Let alone this.
On today's bonus show, we will talk about college athletes struggling to read. We will talk about someone who went 60 years without a bath. And Florida is looking at legalizing warning shots. They already have the stand your ground disaster. Now we're going to legalize warning shots. It's just incredible. We'll talk about it on the bonus show. You can, of course, get your first month of membership at half price.
This story, incredibly disturbing, not getting very much attention in the media as far as I can tell. It is a classic story of corporations socializing their costs and privatizing their profits. I don't know if there is a state in the country that has been subject to more abuse by a major energy industry than West Virginia. The AP is reporting, and others as well, residents of 9 counties in West Virginia have been told not to use or drink their water after a chemical used by the coal industry spilled into the Elk River on Thursday. A state of emergency has been declared by the governor, Earl Ray Tomblin, for more than 300,000 people. They are without safe drinking water. They've been told not to make baby formula, not to brush their teeth, not to shower. They can only flush their toilets. Libertarians will enjoy this part of the story. The chemical 4-methocyclohexane methanol is used to wash coal of impurities and spilled from a tank at Freedom Industries into the Elk River. Also, according to the water company, they believe that the chemical is leaking at the ground level, and there is a possibility that it's been leaking for some time before it was discovered on Thursday, which means that it's highly likely that people were making baby formula, they were brushing their teeth and showering in this MCHM, which effects of exposure include severe burning in the throat, severe eye irritation, nonstop vomiting, trouble breathing, or severe skin irritation, such as skin blistering. God knows what it would do to an infant. Freedom Industries has yet to release a statement, but I suspect it should be, this is just part of freedom. And if you're one of those citizens who, you'll have the opportunity to sue now, I guess. Unless, of course, Freedom Industries is able to use their corporate influence to fashion some type of law in the West Virginia legislature that provides them limited liability for such mistakes.
You know, Sam, if you don't want exohaxlo, whatever it is, in your water, in your local body of water, then you're free to pack up your infant and get the hell out of West Virginia.
The West Virginian American Water Company has emphasized that once contaminated by MCHM, the water cannot be treated. So hopefully it'll simply just wash out of the river eventually. Unbelievable. Really,
the people
just
of West Virginia
despicable.
should band together with buckets, Sam, and just pull all the water out of that river.
As Mel Gibson would say in Braveheart, freedom!
In West Virginia, there was a terrible leak into the Elk River, and let me tell you the damages that were done. First of all, we had 7,500 gallons of 4-methylcyclohexane methanol that leaked into the river. Now, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like that might be a little dangerous. Well, the water started smelling funny, and then people started checking into the hospitals. It is not good. Now, what happened? There's 300,000 residents of West Virginia that had to be warned, do not do anything with the water. Don't drink the water. Don't shower in the water. Get away from the water, okay? Now, this is obviously a huge problem for those 300,000 residents. Hotels were closed down. Restaurants were closed down. One of the problems that the restaurants had is that the employees couldn't wash their hands with the contaminated water, let alone cooking in the water, let alone everything else. Planes into the area were canceled because pilots and stewardesses refused to go into the area because it's so dangerous. But I'm glad the media isn't covering it that much here in America. I mean, when a corporation spills all that pollutants into the environment, that's not that big a story, right? I mean, what's going to happen to Chris Christie? That's the bigger story. So how many people had to seek treatment? 32 people went into the hospital. How long did this last? 5 days. They went with no water for 5 straight days. Finally, today, they say that it is now safe enough to drink the water in West Virginia. Me, I'd wait a couple extra days, right? But now, look, if you're one of those 300,000 residents, you don't have a lot of choices. That's your home. I mean, a lot of those folks are not Mitt Romney. They don't get to go take a vacation in Barbados while they wait for the water to get clean again, right? So they're in a tough, tough situation. Now, as I was reading the Associated Press story on it, I came to an interesting sentence that I think sums it up. Now, first, you have to understand something, and I love this. The name of the corporation that leaked the contaminants into the water is Freedom Industries. I mean, how perfect is that, right? No, it's okay that we might have poisoned your water supply because we're for freedom. In fact, we make freedom. We're Freedom Industries. We also make a little bit of poison that sometimes leaks into the water. But hey, freedom isn't free, right? We'll get to that in a second. So here is that line from the Associated Press that I love. According to the Department of Environmental Protection officials, Freedom Industries is exempt from DEP inspections and permitting since it stores chemicals and doesn't produce them. Well, I see if you're storing dangerous chemicals, I'm sure that isn't going to be a problem at all, unless, of course, they leak into the river. Now, gee, I wonder why we had a problem here. Could it be that if you don't regulate someone and say, hey, go ahead and make as much money as you like off of this, and if there's any problems, the residents the public will have to deal with it. Capitalism for you. If you've got profits, that's definitely capitalism. Oh, there's costs? Yeah, well, we're going to use socialism for that and just put that on the American people, and in this case, the people of West Virginia, okay? Hey, freedom isn't free, man. Look, if you're in the Freedom Industries business and you poison the water, it's a sad day for West Virginia, right? You know what I'm saying? Inspections, no. Regulation, we're over-regulated. I mean, if you regulate, what's going to happen? Next thing you know, we're not allowed to leak poisons into the water. Goddamn regulation, big government. Here's what I'm not in favor of, big government. Now, I would like to get into your womb to do a forced ultrasound. But if you mean big government, like we regulate people so they don't leak poisons, oh, I hate big government. Look, companies give to the government, ironically, when their government officials, Republicans usually, but sometimes Democrats as well, go and complain about big government. They love big government when it's spying in on you, when it's getting in between you and your doctor, and it's getting inside your body. They love big government. When they say they don't like big government, what they mean is they don't like when big government tries to actually do its job and protect you. That's when they hate big government, because that puts a crimp in their style, man, and takes a couple of pennies off their profits. We can't have that. So the good people living near Elk River, sad day for you, man. Have I said it enough times? Freedom isn't free, man. All right. By the way, now as you just saw there, I'm a little animated about this story, but I know, of course, that all the Sunday talk shows were abuzz about this, right? I mean, it was all over. I mean, it was like a BP oil spill here. I mean, this affected all the good folks in West Virginia. Oh, wait, I'm getting late breaking news that the people who run the Sunday talk shows don't know anyone in West Virginia and don't give a damn about them. And certainly don't love to do stories about how corporations poison the water. So, turns out, in fact, here's the number of stories that the Sunday talk shows did about this spill in West Virginia. 0. I believe the Spanish have a word for it. It's called nada. Okay. Now, on the other hand, there were important stories done, including this segment on Meet the Press. Will Chris Christie survive this scandal to run for president in 2016? Well, I'm glad they're on it because that's only a couple of years away. 2, 3, depending on how you're counting and depending on when you think the primaries start. Okay, I mean, people are poisoned today, but what's going to happen to the horse race in 2.5 years? But that's not all. And as Jason Lincolns points out at Huffington Post, to be fair, when you went to Martha Raddatz, she did do a good story on Bow Bow. No, that's not the latest dance craze. That apparently is a panda, 4.5-month-old panda. So cute. So cute. What Freedom Industries did, not as cute.
We are seeing in West Virginia, about, a fifth, a sixth of the state can only use their water, their tap water, to flush the toilet. That's it. Don't allow it to come into contact with your skin at all, under any circumstances, in any way. We are seeing the ultimate example of how a libertarian society would work. Because in a libertarian society, government does not use force to regulate chemical companies, for example. You use the courts. So after people are harmed and after their businesses are destroyed and after their children start getting born with birth defects and after they start dying with cancers or whatever may happen, they then sue. I'm serious. I'm not making this up. This is the libertarian, the objectivist. This is Ayn Rand. This is Atlas Shrugged, right? The remedy is the courts. It's a little nuts, but excuse me. But here's where it gets really interesting. Freedom Industries? Good old red, white, and blue Freedom Industries polluting West Virginia. Freedom Industries was co-founded by a guy named Carl Lemley Kennedy II. He's a real patriot. He used to work as a snitch for the feds to bust cocaine dealers. Why? Well, because he himself had been arrested and pled guilty in 1987 to selling between 10 and 12 ounces of cocaine. And he got his sentence reduced by turning and becoming a snitch. But that's the small stuff. Right. Where this guy who owned this company that leaked this chemical into the water supply of West Virginia, where he really made his bucks. This is from the Gazette, and the Charleston Gazette in West Virginia. And I quote, Kennedy, this is the guy who's the co-founder of the chemical company, filed for bankruptcy in 2005 after he was charged with tax evasion and willful failure to pay employees withholdings to the government. Now, let me translate that. When, as an employer, you are required to deduct money from your employees' paychecks, and you do it every paycheck, every week or every other week or every month, however it's paid, and then on a periodic basis, and it depends on the company and the amounts and how they do it, but I believe that it's typically quarterly. But it's been a lot of years since I actually did. It's been actually a couple of decades since I did payroll myself, so I don't know exactly how often it has to be delivered to the government. But periodically, you then take that money, which is sitting in your checking account, and it's probably monthly by now. If it might even be immediate, who knows? And you write a check to the government and say, okay, here's the money that I withheld from my employees' paychecks. Here you go. Well, this guy took more than $1 million between 2000 and 2003 while he was the accountant for Freedom Industries. This very company. Quote, this is from the Charleston Gazette, he admitted that between 2000 and 2003, while he was the accountant for Freedom Industries, Poca Blending, and New River Chemical Company, so he was the accountant for 3 companies. He was the co-founder of Freedom Industries. He withheld more than $1 million from employee paychecks that he never passed on to the federal government, according to court filings. He also owed more than $200,000 in state taxes. Carl L. Kennedy II took steps to conceal a large portion of his income from the Internal Revenue Service, using corporate funds for his personal benefit and writing corporate checks to cash for his personal enrichment. So, this Freedom Industries, really. So here you have this guy who is a twice convicted felon in the chemical business, handling chemicals that, we really just don't need to check on. The industry will police itself. After all, the Tea Party tells us these government regulations are strangling business. And so this place had not been visited in many, many years. And meanwhile, this 4-MCHM, methocyclohexane, methanol, which is used to wash coal, by the way, interestingly enough, gets into the water supply in West Virginia. Libertarians must just be so, here's now we get to see how a libertarian system works. This is not apparently a regulated system. These tanks were not regularly inspected. And the marketplace will decide, right? Companies will simply decide, I don't think I want to buy from him anymore because he's got a bad reputation, because he didn't run his business well, because he polluted a watershed. You really think the coal companies, if this guy says, hey, we're going to have a sale on 4-MCHM. We're going to have a sale on 4-HMCHM, and I'm going to sell it at 30% off. Do you really think the coal companies are going to follow this libertarian theory and say, we're not going to buy from him because he has a bad reputation, when they can make more money? But, this is what small government looks like. West Virginia is like the epicenter of small government. There's, no functional tax base. The major industry is coal, and coal has basically bought most of the politicians to the point that they're relatively unregulated and pay very little in taxes relative to certainly other countries. West Virginia does not have what Alaska has, a permanent fund. Alaska said, we've got this natural resource, oil. We got a whole bunch of oil, and we own it. We're Alaska. We got this oil. And when we sell it to the oil companies, we're going to take that money and put it in a multi-billion-dollar fund, and then take the interest out of that fund, and every year send a check for $2,000 to every citizen of the state of Alaska. And they've been doing this for decades. West Virginia could have done this with coal starting 100 years ago. But they never did, because that would be socialist. That would not be libertarian.
Okay. I think about this. I think about Fukushima. Fukushima is much worse, but it's a similar thing. Right now, they're still putting more radiation into the ocean and into the air in Fukushima. Think about 3 Mile Island. I think about the BP oil spill. And I think about what's happening to not only our country, but our world. It seems to me that people are getting killed by humanity. To me, this is just as bad as taking someone and shooting them. They know that what they're doing is wrong. You know damn well that they knew that those tanks were faulty. You know damn well that someone or something caused that leak. Could just be old tanks. I don't know. Probably never find out, because the government's too stupid to try and find out. I blame the politicians, because this country is full of a bunch of politicians that have been bribed by the large corporations. And the Libertarians, they screw up by saying, and as Thom said, you can just sue if you get killed or if you get sick. Bullshit. It shouldn't happen in the first place. Look at the problems we have with food. Sort of makes you think that the rich folks are trying to kill our asses. Those son of bitches, they bet they don't eat that food that comes out. No way in hell. I bet they don't eat those GMO foods. Of course, that's still not proven yet that it's bad, but in many cases I think it is. Then you got the Republicans sitting there saying, too much regulation. And they're saying, get rid of welfare. What about the welfare they're paying to the rich folks and the corporations? It's bullshit. And I look at all of this crap that's happening with chemical spills and oil spills and radiation. There is no reason that we should be keeping nuclear power. We should get rid of it. We should also figure out a way to get rid of the nuclear crap that's giving us the nuclear power, because that's going to be causing problems, like it is in Fukushima. We need to get rid of the use of oil. I don't know, maybe plastic would be alright. No, plastic's screwing up the ocean because people are throwing plastic bags in the ocean, and there's these little microbes that cut it down to little bullet-like things, and the fish eat them thinking it's food. So it's killing the fish. You know, you rich folks don't give a damn about us. They don't give a damn about the world. They figure that it's going to go after they're gone. Maybe they think they can take their money with them, but it burns them hell. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. They sit there and ship all these jobs overseas. So our poverty rate is going up fast. Then they blame President Obama for it. Now, I think part of it is his fault. But the biggest part of it is the Republicans' fault for stopping and everything that'll help. They don't give a shit about the unemployed. They're cutting what they pay them. And all of this stuff helps the economy. It's ridiculous. And the banks, they're sitting there screwing us. They get bailed out. What about the people? I mean, they don't bail out the people. And it's not their fault if they lose their job, unless they get fired. But if they're laid off, it's not their fault. It's the rich folks' fault. Then the ones that most of the jobs out there now are minimum wage jobs. So you got people that can't afford or to eat 3 meals a day. They can't afford to get sick. You got people out there that, because of the Republicans, should be on Medicaid, but they can't get it. And they don't qualify for the other health insurance program under Obamacare. And the thing is, it don't cost the damn states anything. There is a war against poor people. Not against poverty, but against the poor people. The war against poor people is increasing poverty. I mean, our country may be the richest in the world, but it's also a third world country when it comes to the people. Medical care ain't worth a shit for most people. Now, I'm lucky. I got a damn good heart doctor, and he's kept me alive. I had a good cancer doctor. He saved me from cancer. And I got another good doctor that I see monthly. But I'm lucky. You know, a baby in South America has a better chance of surviving birth than a baby in the United States. You know that all the major countries in the world have single payer health care where it doesn't cost the people anything. Yeah, they may have to wait a little while longer. But it's not as bad as they're told it is. I know a lot of Canadians, and they swear by their health care. Then the corporations are moving to these other countries because they don't want to pay health care. This whole system is screwed up. And what it is the people have lost the power. The rich folks are running Congress. Even on the Republican side, you got a lot of Republicans that are taking bribes, legal bribes. What they need to do is do what they did years and years ago when I first got into accounting. Corporations were not allowed to give political contributions. If they did, the officers who were involved in it would go to prison. It was a felony. You were not allowed to give more than, I think it was either $1,000 or $1,500 to a politician. More than that to me is bribery. When it comes to elections, don't vote for the rich folks. Don't vote for these politicians that are taking all this money to get elected. Don't let money win the election. Let the individual who is going to be helping you win the election. Now, there's a whole lot of independents out there. Enough independents to sway an election either way. Hope to hell they don't vote for the Republicans. Hope to hell they don't vote for a lot of the Democrats. Something has to be done. We have to get controls on the banks. We have to send a lot of these bankers to prison because they've committed fraud. We have to realize that the banks, these big banks, aren't too poor to fail. They're too big to fail. We have to put the people running them and are committing all this fraud in prison. I think I already said that, but it's worth saying again. Back in my days, when I was young, when I got into accounting, I was starting off and going up the ladder. There were controls on business. AT&T was split up. Now it's all put back together again. Companies that got too big got cut down. People didn't lose any money. The stockholders didn't really lose any money because they had stock in all these different companies. But the people at the top only had one company. I remember when Michigan Bell was around, called her Ma Bell. Of course, the company wasn't worth a shit, but we had pretty good telephone service. I think it was more expensive than it is now. Going by inflation, it was a hell of a lot more expensive. I remember when they had party lines. You'd have about 10 people on the same line. You want to call somebody, and someone else is talking on the damn line. You get some funny conversations, too. It was fun. Then they made it so they worked it out so that you didn't get to hear the other guys. But the thing is that back then it didn't cost that much. Of course, now you don't have to pay for a long distance a lot of times. Like my cell phone, I can call anywhere in the U.S. and it doesn't cost me any more. Now, T-Mobile is coming out where you can call just about anywhere in the world without any extra cost. With the internet, you shouldn't have to pay for calls outside of your country because it all goes through the internet. Anyway, we got to do something. We got to fight to get our country back. We got to get rid of the wars. We got to take we can cut the military spending more than in half just by getting rid of the waste. By getting rid of the high prices that the military pays. By getting rid of these subcontractors that are ripping us off. We gotta get rid of the NSA because it hadn't done a damn bit of good ever since it started. Besides that, the FBI can take care of that stuff, and the CIA can take care of stuff, even though the CIA ain't worth a shit either. What we need to do is to cut down the government cost that don't help the people. Military spending, spending on the CIA, that can go down a whole bunch. FBI probably spends too damn much money too. Of course, then we gotta get rid of these cops that kill people and think they have the right to murder people. Same with the FBI. And we gotta get rid of the president that's sitting there murdering people. Our government is committing murder. You know what gets me is that U.S. and Israel don't listen to the UN when the UN tells them that they're committing crimes. But they bitch and moan when other countries do the same damn thing. The biggest outlaws as far as country goes are the United States and Israel. The ones that cause the most terror, United States and Israel. Even Europe is getting fed up with the United States and Israel. Countries all over the world are saying, what in the hell are those clowns doing? They're making things worse for us all. Something's got to be done. I tell you one thing, the way things are going, we ain't going to be here. If we survive, our kids may not. If they survive, you know damn well the grandkids aren't going to survive. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, global warming doesn't exist. It got cold this week. The reason it got cold is because the warm air up north pushed the cold air down here. Oh, that ship got caught in the ice. Don't have global warming. We got a problem with our climate. Most of it's caused by global warming. But it does get cold at times. But when you look at the whole damn thing, it's hotter than hell out there. Something's got to be done. I can't do it alone. But if all of you get together, you can do it. Check out wolfpack.com or .org, I forget which. Just go to Google or your other search engines. Put in wolf-pack, P-A-C, and you'll find it. Check it out. It was started by a guy at TYT, the Young Turks. And now it's being run by other people, but he's still involved with it some. Also, when it comes to the bank, get your money out of those big fucking banks before you lose it. Go to a small bank. My bank has 3 branches in Detroit. That's all there is to it. And I'm willing to bet my money's safer in that bank than it is in J.P. Morgan or Bank of America and all those other big banks that are fucking us all every day. Something's got to be done, and the only people who can do it are you. Not just me alone, but if you get along, start yelling at your congressman. Tell him, hey, you bastard, I'm not going to vote for you if you fuck me up again. Just let them know that money doesn't win elections if the people get together and vote you out. As far as I can see, probably 90% of the Republicans are full of shit. And probably 70% of the Democrats are full of shit. Gotta do something. Look at their voting record when they're running for re-election. Of course, they didn't vote that much in this last year. Now, they also didn't spend that much time in working either. They're getting paid all this damn money and they don't even work half the year. It's bullshit. Pure, unadulterated bullshit. And we got to do something about it. Did I get off the subject back there? What the hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah, it says here, chemical spill, West Virginia water untouchable. Yep. Sort of makes you think when you look at all this shit that's happening because our fucking corporations are stupid and they don't give a shit about us. How in the hell are they supposed to make money if there aren't other people making money to pay them? Well, what we do is we get cheap labor. We go overseas, get almost slave labor. Actually, you could probably say it is slave labor. And that way we can sell the stuff for a hell of a lot more than what we pay for it. And we make more money. Hey, dumbass. How you going to make more money if no one has any money to buy the shit from you? Well, we get rid of a whole bunch of people. And we'll still be making as much money. Doesn't make sense to me. What's going to happen when all of a sudden you aren't making money because there ain't nobody being able to buy? I look at this high price shit that these designers make, big time designers. Hell, it probably doesn't cost any more than $1 for a t-shirt that they sell for $50. Damn belt for $350. Hell, the guy may have been able to pay for it, but he's stupid to buy it. Oh, but it looks good. Doesn't look good enough for me. Hell, I got jeans with holes in them. I got clothes that I've had for 20 years. They got holes in them, but hell, my major parts are covered up. Good part about it is I go out in the street, I got long hair and a beard and look like I'm a homeless person, and people will come up and say, "Oh, you poor old man," and give me money. one guy gave me a $20 bill, and I look at that sucker and I think, I should ask him if he thought that was a $1 bill. Then I say, fuck it, I'm going to fucking spend that $20. I'm going to have a good meal tonight. So I wish I was still drunk, because I'd be able to have all kinds of fun that I wouldn't remember the next day. That's why I quit drinking, because I couldn't. People say, oh, you had so much fun last night. I did. I can't remember a damn thing. What good is it to get drunk if you don't remember how good of a time you had? And maybe the son of a bitch is lying to you. You don't know. I came home one day and had a big old dent in the side of the car, and I didn't know what in the hell happened to it. And then, 10 years after I quit drinking, I remembered what happened. Oh, well, I guess it's about time for me to cut this off. I hope you enjoyed this little talk we've had. At least I've had with you. I've had to you. Whatever. And I'm going to close this. Would close it with a song, but I forgot to put a song up there, and it's going to take too damn long for it to get up there, so I'm just going to say goodbye. Why don't y'all have a good day, a good week, a good month, and a good year. Most of all, I want you to have a beautiful life. Thank you for being you. And TGYA, thank God you're alive.